OOP's daughter starts to act strange. I am not OOP. This was originally posted by you throwaway 26161 on our advice. Original post on July 20th, 2022. My 33M. 12-year-old daughter has been acting in a very strange way for a while now. A little background info. We live alone. Her mom left when she was 3 months old and we both haven't seen her since. So, about a week ago I came home from work and she was just sitting on the couch staring at me. Like always. I asked her how her day was but she didn't answer back. Then, I asked her if anything was wrong since she usually is very cheerful and happy when I come home from work. She just shook her head no and went up to her room. I went to the bathroom afterwards and saw the floor had soap or shampoo all over it. Literally all over. I was obviously confused as to why that would happen. So I called her down to ask her. When I inquired about it, she smirked and mumbled something under her breath which I couldn't make out. I asked her in a firmer voice to explain what happened but this time she ignored me and walked up to her room. I was very puzzled but I told her she had to either clean it or I would ground her. She has never done anything like this before so I was perplexed. Another incident happened this morning at breakfast. We were both in the kitchen. I was making pancakes as she requested, and she was pouring water. Oddly, she kept pouring water and didn't stop. I only realized when I heard water dripping. I told her to be careful. She was spilling water all over the floor, but she didn't react. I thought maybe she couldn't hear me so I said the same thing louder but she still didn't react. I had to come over and remove the glass from her hand. After that she just went to the yard and sat on the grass. I tried talking to her and asked her what was wrong but she burst into tears and ran into her room and locked the door. She refused to come out for hours and I didn't want to scare her in any way by forcing her to come out. About 2 hours ago she finally left her room and gave me a hug. I'm really confused. Why is she acting like this? I don't want things to become worse so I felt it'd be best to stop whatever is wrong as early as possible. There aren't any school bullies or anything since she's homeschooled. And she sees friends every day in the summer and she hasn't had any fights with any of them as far as I know. No online weirdos either since I always monitor her smartphone usage. I have no idea why she could be acting like this and it's really beginning to scare me. Any ideas what can be wrong and how I can help her? P.S. Sorry for bad English. Not my first language. Edit. Thank you all so much for your advice. I've made an appointment with a neurologist later today and I will be taking her to a therapist. I will be updating you guys on what happens. A lot of people have been asking how her homeschooling works. She attends online school which is on Zoom and has private tutors which come by our house 3 times a week to address any issues she may have. When she has tutors over, I never let them out of my sight. They sit at the counter and I sit opposite of them and just finish up paperwork. So her tutors aren't saying her or anything. Also, I am not forcing her to be homeschooled. In fact, she refuses to attend in-person school. When she was 5 years old, I took her to school and it was her first day. At first, she was very excited to go but as soon as we arrived she started crying and refused to leave her car seat. I felt bad but I had to force her out of it as I had work and nowhere to leave her. When I came to pick her up I was informed she was still crying. 7 hours. She was sitting in the corner just sobbing and from that day onwards I decided it would be best if she was homeschooled. It broke my heart seeing her like that. Fast forward to when she turned 9. 4th grade. I recommended she go back to in-person school but she aggressively denied my suggestion. I obviously am not going to force my daughter to do something she doesn't feel comfortable doing, since it's only going to make things worse. She has plenty of social interaction with friends and cousins her age. However, I'll check with her if she feels comfortable going back to in-person school now. Update added as an edit to the same post. I took my daughter to a neurologist who thankfully assured us that nothing is wrong with her physiologically. No absence seizures, epilepsy, etc. But recommended I take her to a psychiatrist when I told him about what has been happening recently. Her psychiatrist appointment is tomorrow morning and I'm really looking forward to finding the root cause of her recent concerning behavior. I asked her if she feels comfortable going back to in-person school and said she'd think about it, which made me really happy since before, whenever I'd mention in-person school, she would get very defensive and upset. I also made it known to her that I'm always here for her if she ever wants to talk about anything, and that I'd never judge her or criticize her. She told me she knows that and that she loves me. She seems to be looking forward to going to the psychiatrist. She wasn't too happy about the neurologist, but I assured her it was for her own well-being. God, I feel incredibly relieved that she doesn't have seizures. Thank you all so much for the support. We'll update after the psychiatrist visit. Final update. Sue, as it turns out, my daughter started her first period. When we got to the psychiatrist's office, my daughter requested I wait outside after we finish talking about what happened because she wanted to tell the psychiatrist something. I'm glad she did. Basically, the psychiatrist told me everything. The soap was because she was dripping blood everywhere when she was freaking out about the blood. She knew a little about periods but freaked out because for some reason the blood was brown. My poor baby said she stayed up for days worrying about how I'd feel once she passes away. God forbid. And the water incident happened because she felt something drop down there, which I assume is more blood. I feel bad about how I missed this and I wonder how she hid it so well. My sister is now in the other room talking to her about periods, how to deal with them, the feelings associated with menstruation, etc. I'm incredibly glad it's nothing serious like seizures, epilepsy, etc. My daughter seems to be way happier now and I'm loving it. We, along her with Aunt, went to get her a period starter kit after the appointment and she seemed really excited. After that we all went to get milkshakes and just chilled for a bit. Everything is great now. Thank you guys so much from the bottom of my heart for everything. Heart. Forgot to mention, she's decided to go back to in-person school, which I'm over the moon about. Reminder. I am not oop. OMG, first period terror. I also thought I was dying the first time despite knowing that periods were a thing ahead of time, because no one prepared me for the amount of blood. My first thought was she started period. I wasn't freaked out when I started, but my little brother acted the same way when he thought he did. Apparently my mom did such a great job explaining periods to me. When my brother fell and hit himself on his bike, he thought he started his period because he was bleeding down there. Took me 2 days to realize he was stealing my pads and acting weird. So I asked him what was up. I laughed so hard when he said he started his period. Anyhow, he was pretty messed up down there, so had to tell mom and get him to a doctor. That sat on the couch staring at me and mumbled something, then ran away. Combined with the soap and shampoo all over the bathroom made me instantly think first period. I was surprised his first stop was a neurologist. Edit. Don't get me wrong. Dad rocks for getting the daughter the help he thought she needed immediately. I'm just really surprised he and Reddit didn't automatically suggest first period. Wow. That took a turn I did not expect. Based on her behavior in the first post, I expected drugs or something like a brain tumor. This was an excellent and pleasant surprise. And I'm happy everything was fully resolved. My 12-year-old daughter. Mum not on the scene. Acting strange. I bet its period has started. Did Dad explain periods? Scans. Yup, is was period. Called it from first two sentences. Honestly, I saw it coming from a mile away, smiley face. At first, she was very excited to go, but as soon as we arrived she started crying and refused to leave her car seat. I felt bad, but I had to force her out of it as I had work and nowhere to leave her. When I came to pick her up, I was informed she was still crying. 7 hours. She was sitting in the corner just sobbing, and from that day onwards I decided it would be best if she was homeschooled. I feel like this could have been completely avoided by some education and open communication between daughter and dad. Education about periods can and should start very early, because some girls can get their period really early, and obviously, this can also be done by dads, not just by other women. The earlier girls are educated on this, the more normal and less shameful it will feel. The minute I saw soap in the bathroom, I was thinking, oh, period terror. The water threw me off, though cause that is a strange reaction. But everyone is different. I'm a bit mad at the fact that Oop didn't prepare her properly for periods. What kind of education is he giving his daughter? I'm a guy and I was ripping my hair off the moment the bathroom incident was mentioned. How could he not think about periods? Did he assume they wouldn't start until she was a teenager? Did he forgot about them? Has he gone his entire life without knowing half the world ha dealt? Is or will be dealing with them? Edit. Most of the top comments in OOP's posts suggest checking for seizures, PTSD, and other very scary stuff. Nothing wrong with being cautious, but after checking the obvious one first. The lesson here is, talk to your kids. Sometimes a kid will not budge if you ask them, what's wrong, but will answer to, is this X what's happening? Once I had my stepkid being unusually quiet and wouldn't leave his bed for breakfast. After 15 minutes of what felt to me like hours of detective work, turns out he had scratched the inside of his nose and a bit of blood came out of it. Why he thought we would ground him for something so silly is beyond me. This kid had a single bad day of preschool, and that was all this person needed to decide to homeschool the child for life? Like what? My son spent his first 3 months of his kindergarten crying much of the day. Now he loves school. School is a very difficult transition for some children. Decisions should not be made after a single day of difficulty. Period aside, is anyone else deeply concerned over how massively overprotective Oop is? My sister is now in the other room talking to her about periods. How to deal with them. The feelings associated with menstruation, etc. Why the other room? Why isn't Oop in there with them? Didn't this cause him to realize that he needs to be educated and a part of this as well? Kind of frustrated by the parenting throughout this. It's a little strange that after one day of in-person school that he decided to homeschool. I thought from the beginning it was going to be her period. The first incident reinforced it. But then when he described the water pouring, I got worried that maybe it was something serious. In retrospect, it makes sense. It hadn't occurred to me he didn't talk to her about periods properly. When I got mine, it was very much a, welp. This is why I've been feeling funny all day, reaction. Because I already knew what to expect. I thought period, immediately with the soap on the floor. And got led astray by the school anxiety red herrings. I don't understand how dads so frequently forget about periods being a thing. Surely even if one's female family members hid them, the mother of one's child isn't really able to? 12 is pretty average for monarchy in most of the world. And as early as 9 is normal. All parents of girls should be having conversations with their 8-year-olds about how it's going to happen within the next few years. You will have questions and concerns. And we need to talk about it when it happens so I can reassure you and help you manage your health and hygiene. Is no one going to comment on how the daughter cried on the first day of school and he instantly pulled her out and homeschooled her for 7 years? I guessed first period in the first sentence. The staring and not answering was worth making sure it wasn't seizures though. Poor girl was probably so confused and hormonal. Another victim of the "don't talk to a kid about puberty or sex until it's already happening" philosophy. Sigh.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epic Haircast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.